Welcome back to REI Hot Seat. Another day, another episode. Jacob Campanero's with me. Jake, thanks for doing this as always.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so we're on a good roll with private, like off-market leads and opportunities. I think today might be an on-market, but
no, this is off-market as well.
Jake's been bringing pretty golden opportunities, I think. I mean, just from the discussions we have, it's pretty cool that we have a steady flow of that here. So what do you got to talk about today?
Yeah, and you know what, Andrew? It's the whole team. It's not just me.
It's not just
throwing that
me,
out there. We have a very good team here of realtors that put these together. We all work on them, and I'll keep them flowing. So
sounds good.
We'll go from there. So today we'll dive right into it. We got a very cool opportunity, as always. I think all my listings are very cool opportunities, but it's a 10-unit building. Okay, and this is located in the Niagara region. What's neat about this one is the owner's taken very good care of it. There's a new roof, new boiler. A lot of the CapEx items are taken care of. Some new windows in this place as well. It is not a purpose-built.
Not purpose-built.
So just note that. I really like to give that distinction when we're on the show. It's a retrofit from a large home, I should say.
So you got a large home chopped up.
Yeah, retrofitted into.
And how functionally is it working? Does it work well, or is it obvious that it's not purpose-built?
No, you know what? It works really well. Okay. This one works really well. And that's why I wanted to first say that it's not purpose-built, because I don't want to obviously mislead anybody. Yeah. They've done a very good job with the layouts. Right. Mm-hmm. I've been into some places where the shower's at a dormer and you got to stand like this while you're in your shower. Like, it's not that. Yeah. So they did a nice job with this place. You know, the home was big enough to start. So there's proper 10 units in here, right?
Is it all legal?
Yeah, all legal. So you have 7 1-beds, 3 2-beds.
Okay. What do the rents look like?
So monthly, we're looking at $11,244.52.
I'm going to leave off the cents. But so if we just want to come up with like, what's the average here on 10 units? It's about $1,124 a unit. Okay, so is there upward movement potential in these? Like, are some of these tenants long-term?
Yeah, so some of them are long-term, some of them aren't. There's definitely room to grow these rents. The units are in decent shape. There was renovations done to all of them at one point or another.
Okay, right? so in the last 10 years, there's been renos of everything?
I would say in the last 4 years, there's been renos.
Renos of everything.
Yeah, it looks good, right?
Okay, so this one doesn't really need much, this building.
No, exterior was nice, good condition, siding done. Units are good layout.
Let's run through the numbers real quick, Jake. What are we looking at for taxes on this annually?
Yes, sir. We'll do the usual here. So we got taxes are going to be $13,235.
Okay.
Insurance, $5,500. And I'm assuming the seller gave me a estimated or rounded number. It's very rare that insurance is 55 bang on, right?
I just got a quote for my front back building, and it was $3,200 plus tax.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening with
the insurance is going up, right? Insurance is going up. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, keep that in mind. You could end up paying more. I do find that as I have these conversations with people, the bigger the buildings get, there seems to be some economies of scale in the insurance amount. But don't quote me. I'm not an insurance guy. Talk to your insurance guy.
For sure. And that's always my recommendation during conditional period. Go get some insurance quotes.
Yeah. So I've got 5% maintenance in here. I'm just going to leave that as a placeholder. That's what
we have.
And then utilities. Okay, I'll put 5 management as well. Yeah. What do we got for utilities?
Yeah. So we have gas.
Okay.
Start there.
So we'll start with gas. So equals
$5,521.
521 plus.
We have hydro, which is and
that's just electric?
Yep, just electric. So hydro is just common area, so we have $968.
Pretty affordable. So is there like a baseboard heater out there, or just lights? Probably just lights.
Just lights.
Yeah, that wouldn't get you heat.
And then sewer and water.
Okay.
That's the larger number. That's $6,492.
It's a shame you can't dig a well for some of these buildings and all the water they're using. Of course, you got to do water.
You can always do sub-meter, right? We were talking about that last night.
Sub-meter,
His companies like Wise Meter, which will come in and actually sub-meter and
they'll administer the whole thing, bill it back to your client, your tenants, everything. Yeah, that's all right. So your utilities there come out to be $12,981. Landscaping and snow. Probably like $2,500 a year. Is it a big parcel to cut, or is it?
No, it's mostly paved. Mm-hmm. So snow removal is definitely there.
It's going to be a big chunk,
So you'd have, I'd say the grass is minimal.
How much parking is there? Is there parking for every unit?
It's 1 for 1.
Yeah, so 10 spots. Yeah, so let's just assume you're spending $2,000 a year. I mean, I think that's on the low side. Like, you got to find a smaller time contractor that's cool with those numbers. You could even say $2,500, and then I like to just keep like a $500 miscellaneous, but we could play with that number.
And I wanted to let you go on that, right? But at the same time, I will say in this particular building is a superintendent that's handling that.
Oh, okay. Well, now, what are you paying the super?
$4,500.
So
there's
maybe
your hallway. There's your hallway cleaning and your snow removal and your grass cutting. Right?
Yeah, so he's going to go out and shovel the whole thing himself every single time. There's no additional additional help?
No, that's my understanding.
All right. So why don't we just say, just in case, we'll call it 5. And then I've got a 500 miscellaneous there. So we got $1,000 pad there. And I just kind of look at my numbers consistently. Like if you have your own methodology at home, whoever's watching this, like just stay consistent, but then also realize where you might want to perform sensitivity on your numbers.
Yeah.
Like, which numbers might be questionable.
Yeah. So sensitivity, Andrew, in that, like I always have a minimum 2% MISC fee.
Yeah.
Right, miscellaneous, and that's my pad, that's my buffer.
Right, that's nice to put in there. So yeah, I have a 500 here. If we turned it, to like 2,500, then it becomes 2%. But,
yeah, and something to understand is that that's what your due diligence period's for. Like in my experience, you're never going to get 100% accurate numbers off the bat, right? Whether that's coming from a realtor, coming from the seller.
Maybe never.
Then I don't.
Some of these people just don't track well.
Right, they don't track well.
Ideally, are you able to get like 12 months utilities bills? Like is that
front? It's rare.
But if you do it during conditional period, is that
100%?
You always get them.
I will not firm up unless you do give me that. There's no excuse not to have that. Go to Hydro One and pull 12 months bills. Like it's not. Yeah. So I always get bills. I always get my own insurance quote, right? Because that's got me called out before in the past where we're going off of the seller's insurance. And yes, he supplied us with the document. Yeah. But guess what? His insurance is for 10 buildings he's had since 1982.
Well, and some people do that declining coverage, which is, so it's not apples to apples. And that's what any insurance guy will tell you, or gal. And, I used to think, you're being dramatic. But no, when I dug into it, you really do need to pay attention to that.
And it's super easy, right? You have, let's say, standard conditional periods, 30 days. In 30 days, you can go get an insurance quote.
For sure.
10 times over.
Yeah, 100%. So
just work on those numbers, and then even go talk to landscapers, go talk to snow removal companies. Like
you're going to get a lot of high quotes. You do have to call around. You got to find somebody who wants the business, because contractors who don't want the business, they don't just say no a lot of times. They just price high.
Yeah, look for 3 quotes. Yeah, go try to find little Billy that lives down the road. See if he wants to shovel to cut the grass.
Yeah, that's always good. I mean, of course, you get into the issues with are they bonded and insured, and I don't know. I'm sure lots of people still do it. Maybe talk to your insurance broker about that one. Yeah,
and that's what I just want to touch on quickly. Right? Because this is a fairly simple analysis. We're almost through it here. But I want to say, add that buffer in there, add that 2% miscellaneous, but at the same time, don't have analysis paralysis.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And pad your numbers and be consistent and look at deals. And when you find one that looks good, double confirm and move to next steps.
And I'd love to do a whole episode on that, right? Because we run into that very frequently, is analysis paralysis, where it's, people start doing 10% vacancy and a 5% miscellaneous buffer. And I go, well, why are we doing this? And they said, well, it makes me feel comfortable. Yeah. And I go, well, that's great, but you're never going to find a deal. At least in Ontario.
Maybe you will. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not giving investment advice here. You got to do what you're comfortable with, for sure. Okay, so what's the asking price?
So the asking price on this, we're going to be coming out at 1.7. Looking to get a bit creative or find a way to make that work.
Yeah. Okay. So just looking at the DCR off the bat, it's going to be tough to get a 75% first mortgage on that. Yeah. So at those rates.
Yeah. And so we ran this with CMHC.
Okay. So we're assuming MLI Select and just regular CMHC. So you can go up to what, 40 years?
40-year AM. Okay. Yeah. And with a good economic life, meaning new boiler, new roof, new windows, new siding.
So what kind of rate would you get? Like 5?
We're looking right now. Actually, we're looking pretty good. I locked in a rate. We just locked in something at 4.5.
Yeah. So bond rates have actually come down in the last week or two. It's pretty significantly. And there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, hey, this is kind of a signal." And it makes sense. When economies slow down, people tend to buy bonds. When everyone buys bonds, they drive the price of bonds up, which drives the yield of the bond down. Yeah. And that's what's happening right now. Of course, the Bank of Canada tries to manipulate that with quantitative tightening, and I know that's their mandate. So I don't read too far into this. But if food for thought, this week it seems a little bit more promising.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, Andrew. I'm not going to say everybody start running your performers at 4.5, because next week it might be back at 5.
Throw that at 4.85.
There we go. Meet in the middle.
Yeah. So at a 75% loan to value, 4.85, 40-year AM. I mean, there is some cash flow here. Not a lot, but there is.
Yeah. And I know you ran your numbers a little bit more
a little tighter.
A little tighter than I did, right? Yeah. I came out here with a 1.25 debt service ratio.
Okay.
At 75% loan to value, 40-year AM. Yeah. 4.55.
I'm a hair under. I'm at 1.15. But again, I did pad those numbers a little differently. Again, just be consistent with the way you're looking at stuff. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the banker reviewing it and what their assumptions are. Like for some of them, their maintenance estimate is going to be less than this. Like they're not going to say it's a full 5%. They're going to say it's $700 a door or whatever it works out to be.
$750 a door because it's been renovated, right? So but I have a decent cash flow, and I'm personally right now I have it in here as $15,000 a year.
$15,000 in cash flow. Yeah, I'm not far off of that. Like again, we're just off a little bit. I have 924. So yeah, it's in that ballpark. It's a little less than that.
Yeah. And then you go through your investment breakdown. We did that for this one just because I wanted to run this. Moving forward on this show, I'd like to start doing the return
like
breakdown.
let's look at the return. So, I mean, if you look at it, principal pay down on this one, based on the assumptions just made there, even with the 40-year AM, 12 grand pay down a year, I have a 0% appreciation, but you could play with that. I mean, in the long run, it's not going to be zero. I don't believe that.
And right now, over the last year, when things have kind of started to come
down,
in downwards trend, I've used just inflation rate. Like I've gone 2%, like
the previous inflation rate.
Previous inflation rate.
That's what I always used. I always just said 2%. Things went to 9, 10, 20. Well, in terms of property appreciation, they were, 20%. I was never using that number. I was always saying, hey, 2% because we know that's not sustainable.
That's a really good point, Andrew. I just want to touch on that. I've seen performers come to me where people are using 20% appreciation and they say, hey, look, I got 120% like return on my investment. I go, yeah, month over month, it's been 20% or even maybe year over year. But let's balance that over a 5-year term. What's the average hold of this building?
Right, because you're not just flipping it. And it's not realized. Like if your building's up, like you haven't sold it, it could go back down. So, but anyways, I mean, in terms of this, the appreciation is the question mark there. With this one, there's obviously a fairly substantial down payment in terms of making this work. So is there a play here to do a potentially like a renovation or some sort of improvement where you could push the value up, push the rents up more?
And that's what I wanted to dive into. So there is a potential to add a unit or two more.
Okay. And the city would be on board or the municipality?
They're open to it. We'd have to go through that. I can't sit here and say 100%.
Right. Okay. But then is there upward pressure that can be put on rents as you get some turnover here? Like are we 20% off of market, coming in at an average of about 1,100?
Yeah. So I would say for a 1-bed anywhere in Ontario, you could at least expect $1,250 now.
So maybe there's a 10% lift that you can do. So if you say you got just a 10% gross up on those rents. And obviously we know anyone, if you've had tenants in for even a few years, in the last year, there's been a massive increase.
Well, so why don't we just do an exercise really quick while we're on here? And why don't you just pull up average rents in Welland?
Okay, so I've pulled up the rentals.ca rental report. Let's just take a look at what's happening in that area right now. I don't even know if they have that on here, but they'll have St. Catharines.
Yeah, Niagara region, right?
Yeah, Niagara region. I think St. Catharines is, it's going to be a good basis. So for 1-beds, we've got 1,586 as the average. So you've got low, you got high. So assume maybe on the low end, you're at 13. Maybe on the high, you're 18, 17.
Yeah, and for 2-beds?
And 2-beds in St. Catharines, 2,031 is the average. Year over year, so here's the big thing to note, is 21% on increase on the 2-beds. It doesn't have the number for the 1-bed. I don't know why. So if you just put that into context, if you've had tenants there for over a year, there is some of your upward potential. But it doesn't look like this one, as you said, you got to get a little creative. There's got to be a play here, an angle that can be made to work.
And look, I look at it as you're buying a building, it's good shape, it's got a new roof, new windows, new boiler, new siding.
So a lot of the work has been done.
It's well maintained. So if you're an investor that says, okay, I'm just looking to put some cash into an investment right now, I want a sound investment where I don't need to do a big CapEx renovation in the next couple of years. We work on pressure on the tenants. Let's increase those rents. And you can turn the going in cap rate, you can turn that into, I calculate at least a 6.5, 7, 8% cap if we can get market rents and potentially add a unit, but we don't even need to, right? There is upside in this building.
And physically, there's space to add units. Would you build new construction of
basement units? Yeah.
You do basement units? Okay. All right. Well, Jake, if people want to learn more about this deal, how do we do that?
Most definitely. So you can reach out, the link below.
Yeah, link below the video.
Yeah, link below the video. Touch base. We're doing our very best to contact everybody. If you don't have a phone number in there, it's a bit more difficult. Some people just put their email in there, and that's fine. We'll reach out with an email. But I always recommend put a phone number in there, put an email in there. We're not going to spam you guys. We're not looking to sell your information. We're just wanting to reach out in a timely manner, talk about opportunities like this. And if this one doesn't work, what will? And that's the conversation I want to have with anybody that comes in.
Cool. And if you made it this far, help support the channel, help support what we're doing here. We'd really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment, or tell somebody about this show if you think it'll help them.
Yeah.
So we're digging into the numbers. We're trying to teach the concepts in a real life, real world opportunities kind of way. So thanks, Jake. Thanks, everyone watching.
Thanks, Andrew.
See you next week.